Hello, and welcome back to Finding Jesus Today with Jen. I'm Jen. If this is your first time coming, welcome, and I encourage you to look at the previous videos that I have made as well. And if you're returning, thank you again. For those who have not liked or subscribed or ring the bell, please do so. You'll get notifications whenever I upload a new video. And also, please share with your friends. You can share in, all kinds of formats, Facebook or even your email. I'm assuming you can even text somebody the link. So I'm going to talk about the burdens that the world puts on us and the burdens of Christianity. So we'll be reading from the book of Matthew, verse 11, 28 through 30. I got ahead of myself on the word 8. This is the Bible that I'm reading from. It is the New Revised Standard Version. And so if you want to go ahead and get your Bible, read along with me, just hit that pause button and come back and join me. And let's read this together. You can use any version that you want, in all honesty, but if you want to read the one that I'm reading, it is the New Revised Standard Version. My glasses. Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So usually when people think about Christianity, they usually think about how hard it is. There's so many rules to follow. You can't do this and you can't do that, and you have to do this, and you're supposed to do everything right. You're supposed to be, people get this image that Christians are perfect, and not really their fault for thinking that, because there are a lot of people who do portray themselves as not doing anything wrong, and so forth. Even though they will say that they are sinners and they pray for God's forgiveness, sometimes the portrayal that they give is something different, and how they treat others who have made mistakes or who are stumbling. Sometimes they may get into a judgmental place, and forget that where they started from. So I'm going to start from with the world's burdens that are on us. What does the world require from us? What messages do they send us that makes us worthy as even a human, not to be treated as subhuman? So, there are things that, like if you don't have the right body type, if you don't have the right makeup or the right clothes, like with brand names, if you don't have the right home, you don't have the right friends, the job that you have, and even for mothers, it can be difficult for mothers, because if they're working, then they're ostracized for saying you're letting a daycare center raise your children. And if they stay at home and take care of their children and raise their children in their home, and not every mother can do that. There are single mothers, and there are two parents in a home where just one income is not enough to support the household, so the mom goes out and works as well. And if she stays home, then she's also ostracized, and she's questioned, why isn't she contributing financially to the household? And so she can't win. And so if your kids aren't behaving a certain way, then the parents are ostracized. So if the child throws a temper tantrum, the parents could be told, well, I would never let my children get away with that. Well, you don't know what the situation is. You don't know what that child's going through. You don't know if there's any medical needs that child is dealing with. I mean, because there are children, for example, who are very sensitive to sensory. There are children who have very painful medical conditions. So, and there's other things. Sometimes just throwing a temper tantrum because they're tired. For those of us who have grown children, we can remember when our children, for no apparent reason, would just throw themselves onto the floor and just throw a temper tantrum. But the world tells us if our children are not perfect out in public, if they are not on their best behavior, then we as parents are horrible parents. We are unfit parents. We are bad parents. So we have that thrown at us. If we have a job that does not pay enough for one parent to support the household, then we are told that we are bad. If we hold two jobs to try and support the household, it's like, then go find a better job. And sometimes you want to say, well, gee, I wish I would have thought of that. Well, let me go do that because I never thought of that before, because I just enjoy working more than one job. No, that's, so let's put on to people. If you work long hours because your job requires it, or you had the opportunity to make more money to help support the household, sometimes we ostracize for that. Or if you don't pick up the extra hours, like, well, I thought you were struggling, so why aren't you picking up the extra hours? And it could just be, I want to spend time with my family. I want to have some family time. I don't want work to be my only thing. Or or the reverse, I have to pick up the hours because if I don't pick up the hours, we don't eat. So there's different scenarios that the world throws at us, make us question every single thing that we do, from our physical appearance to where we live, to the friends we keep, even to our education. If we buy brand name clothes or if we buy off-brand clothes, if we buy expensive clothes or if our clothes are inexpensive, if we have a college degree, and not just a college degree, do you have a master's degree or do you have a PhD? Because even now, bachelor's degree, people really don't think in general, from my experience, of course, that is as big of a deal as if you had went for your master's degree, and especially if you didn't go for your PhD. So the world puts a lot of burden on us to portray this thing that may not even be us. We are not allowed, for the most part, to be our true, authentic self. The world tells us we have to act a certain way, in order to be acceptable to the world. That we have that if we're poor, we're unacceptable. If we're sick, we're unacceptable. And because if we're poor, it's like, well, what did you do why are you in that situation? Why didn't you get out? Why didn't you do this or do that? If we're sick, well, what caused you to be sick? Are you eating unhealthy? Did you used to smoke? Did you do X, Y, Z? It's always just blame. And if you get secondhand clothes and people just kind of look down on you sometimes of, why are you wearing those clothes? Why can't you buy yourself or your children new clothes? And we should not look at people that way, especially when they're doing the best that they can for their children. But when the world is telling us we have to put forth a self of us that's not true and it's not authentic, that in itself is a burden. And so when we have to go out and we have to pretend that everything is okay when we're falling apart inside, that is a burden that will weigh on us and weigh on us. Because if you have issues that you're going through, people will tell you, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear how you're hurting. I don't want to hear that you're sad. I don't want to hear your problems. And so over and over and over again, we are told to shove it down, to shut up, and to keep it to ourselves. And the only thing that happens with that is that you do close yourself off, and then your depression or whatever you're going through becomes worse because you have no release. Because sometimes the release that you need is another human person to be able to talk to, and not even necessarily finding answers, but someone that would just be compassionate. The world in itself does not really have compassion for others. They have compassion for people who are like them, but not for people who are different. And it's, kind of sad in that the people just want to help those who they think is worthy or who the world says is worthy, and not help those that are really struggling because we make assumptions about their condition that we know nothing about. Now, Jesus says, I get my glasses again, that says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I'm gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. But the first part of the 28 says, come to me, all you who are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Jesus did not say, if you have it all together, come to me. I mean, of course you can go to him, but he's not saying. So why did he specifically say that? Those who are weary and carrying heavy burdens, come to me, and I will give you rest. It is those that are tired, those who are sick, those who are poor, those who have mental issues, whether it's depression or anxiety, or there's ADD, ADHD, other mental health issues that they may be going through. There's those who are just going through mourning, just different things that people are just weary. And the burdens is not only just our personal burdens, but the burdens that the world puts on us, that Jesus is telling us to come to him. Come to him and he will give us rest. And he said his yoke is easy and his burden is light. So what does that look like? Well, Jesus wants us to be our authentic self to him. He doesn't want us to close off to him. He wants us to be fully open, fully exposed to him, showing our insecurities, showing our vulnerabilities, showing our highs, showing our lows, showing everything about us, and not closing it off. So his burden is first to be open, and that can be a burden because it can be very difficult to open yourself up to others, even to God, when people have always shut you out and shut you down or dismissed what you have said. What is it that Jesus says to learn from him? For he is humble in heart. So think about the feeding of the 5,000. Jesus went out and he fed them. He did not ask, where are you from? Why can't you feed your own family? Why can't you provide? Why do I have to provide for you? Jesus does not ask those questions of them. People who were sick that he healed, he did not say, you deserve this, you must have done something wrong. For you to be in this situation, you did something wrong. That is not what Jesus said. That's not how he treated them. The woman caught in adultery, he had compassion for that woman. He had a kind spirit. He had a compassionate spirit. He had a forgiving spirit, that he reached down to that woman and forgave her. And so the requirements that Jesus puts on us is, first of all, to be our authentic self. But he also, the requirements are also different from the world's. It is not get the best house, get the best car, get the best job. It's not that. It's not your kids must be perfect in public, because Jesus knows, God knows that we're not perfect and that things happen, meltdowns happen, temper tantrums happen. What Jesus tells us is to give to the poor, to feed the hungry, to give drink to the thirsty, to clothe the naked, to visit those who are sick and in prison. You see, Jesus, when he tells us to that we will be fed, he, not only our bodies but also our souls through the word, through his words that he teaches us. And we want to feed others too, in both mind, body, and spirits, because you see, all three of those work together. All three of those. If you are hungry and you are thirsty, how is your mind and how is your spirit? You're going to be tired, you're going to be weary, you just want help. And so we need to feed the body. And, and if our mind is in a state that is not good, that can affect other parts of ourselves in our lives. It can disrupt it. And same thing with our souls. And so we need to have all three of those working together. And all Jesus asks us is to come to him. Come to him broken. Come to him vulnerable. Come to him when things are good. Come to him exposed. Come to him with all of your faults that you've had and show it to him and just give it to him. Now, the phrase "give it to him" is kind of like a strange meaning, because some people think that it means just tell Jesus your sins and then it's over. No, that's not how it works. When we come to him and we expose and we tell Christ of what it is that we're going through, that's when the healing begins, because we have opened ourselves to him. We have given it to him by telling him with our words of what is going on with our lives. And now it's time to start with the healing and taking those steps forward with Christ in doing that through prayers and through supplication, through praise and through, going to the doctor, doing meditation, just whatever it is that puts your mind at ease and starts healing your body and your mind and your soul is what Jesus wants from us. But we've got to take that first step. Does Christ know what we're going through? Absolutely. Absolutely he does. But we have to come to him and we have to ask him to walk with us and help heal us. Sometimes Jesus has come down and just helps us along the way anyway. But, sometimes when somebody needs help and they're too proud or too ashamed to ask for help, sometimes they're going to reject help if you offer it. And sometimes you just have to sit back and you have to wait for them to come to you. And that's what Jesus is doing. He wants us to come to him. He wants to, we need to show that we are ready for that healing to begin. Because sometimes we're not ready for the healing to begin. Sometimes we just want to brood some more. Sometimes we just want to just be in that moment some more. We're human. It happens. But once we are ready, fully ready to start that healing, even a little bit ready to start that healing, we can go to Christ and we can show him our brokenness and not be ashamed. We can show him our faults and not be ashamed. We can show him our struggles and not be ashamed. We can show him our vulnerabilities and again, not be ashamed. We have to go to him as well. He comes to us, but we also go to him. We just like that song, Just As I Am. We come to him just as we are. Jesus does not require us to be a certain way for him to open his arms and accept us. That's the difference between Christ and the world. The world requires us to be a certain way before we are accepted. Jesus accepts us as who we are, broken, just with fault, with struggles, with sin. We all sin. Jesus accepts us for who we are. And then with him and with his help and help of other people around us, we can start that journey to healing. And that is the burden that Jesus has, which is to be our authentic self, which can be hard. But it is also hard for the burden of the world. But to me, I think it's harder for the burdens of the world because we are forced to be something that we're not. We are forced to be a certain way before we're accepted. And the burden of Jesus is in his yoke and everything is we come to him as we are. We do not need to be perfect. We do not need to have a perfect children. We do not need to have it together. We come to him as broken and messed up as we are. So I would love for you to think on this and of how it is that what you are free to show and expose to Christ. Things that Christ already knows. What is it that you need to start that healing from that you've been shoving down inside you? That people have told you to be quiet about and shut up about and get over it about. What is it that you have been struggling with to come to Christ? And so I encourage you to, just kind of pray on that, for Christ to show you of how to open yourself and give you the strength and the courage to open yourself to him and to speak those words to him. So of the struggles that you're having, the faults, the sin, the worries, the brokenness that you have, and just open yourself to him and come to him, and just pray on that, so where you can start taking those steps forward for healing, and through that you can then help somebody take their steps to healing as well. So God bless. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.